Fantastic. The best part of waking up. For those of you that have seen that live stream by author Stephen Walton, you know the rest of the lyrics. How the hell is everybody this morning? Good morning, Script. You know what, Script? I need some Canadian help because I am completely lost with this title. Are you busy? No response. That's fine. Okay. The only other option was Ryan Reynolds, and apparently he is not available. And hail, Lopter, Demon King of Inferno. Yeah, I'm about to download that one game you were telling me about, and might do some not live streaming, but just some videos on that one. Yeah, okay, Script. I'll send you something. Something is on the way here. And Script Doctor, I'm amazed you're awake. I'm amazed anybody's awake. This morning has been an interesting morning. Right now, we are looking at Ray Fisher publicly denouncing the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League. Retracting a statement that he made at a con sometime before. It's hilarious. But yes, that's what we got going on. We're also seeing some blowback to an Anthony Mackie statement made to Variety earlier. And he's calling the production of Black Panther racist. Whew. Oh, yeah. See the blowback coming from that one. Without too much explanation on what he meant by that. But here, on this Monday morning, on this wonderful Monday morning, we are here to talk about mutants and to mumble about all the things going on in the realm of mutants. And what we're here to talk about is this little item. If I can pull it up in my share screen. Yeah, apparently I can't. That's fine. Bam. All right. And good morning to you, Script Doctor.
Good morning. Well, it's quarter to 2 p.m. for me, but good morning to you.
Never mind. All right, so I needed Canadian perspective because I am reading Alpha Flight and right now, and I have no perspective on anything that's going on. I'm reading the title by John Byrne, where he does the story and the art.
Is this to be Alpha Flight of the 90s?
Yeah, that's the early stuff. So
nice.
When Vindicator changed his name to Guardian for the first time, and then I got through the Tundra story, and then I am now getting into the Master story, which in 2020 might not be an appropriate title for the villain. But yeah, we're getting into the Master story and kind of Marina.
If you can show me the spelling of the name, I could help with the pronunciation.
The fish lady.
Morianis?
Marina.
Is it Morianis? Oh, Marinia.
Sure, we'll go with that. Marin, the one that has the same kind of subset of powers as Namor.
Yes, yeah.
Um, but yeah, so the Alpha Flight apparently making into. There's a rumor going about that they're going to make a cinematic appearance in the Wolverine versus Hulk movie. This was talked about probably a year ago. I remember writing about this. And the Alpha Flight is supposed to get a Disney Plus series. My question to you is, okay, production costs in Canada. They talked about how production is in Canada and it would be cheaper to film there.
Yes. Our Canadian dollar is, I think, 30 cents cheaper than the American dollar, so you get 30% more use out of that $1.
Okay, so in terms of okay, so just monetary value, but what about like production like overall? Are there
Um,
less bills to pay if you're up there? Do they have less taxes? Do they
well, British Columbia has some great tax credits for film production. Plus, it also has a lot of a variety of locations in a very small area. So if you want to see like a desert area to a jungle area to a forest area to a beach area, you can do that all in British Columbia relatively a lot easier than in Los Angeles or anywhere in California.
Oh. Okay. So, and then there's a lot of backdrop. There's a lot of stuff that I have not researched John Byrne, but there was probably a reason he was chosen to make the title. Uh, is John Byrne Canadian?
I don't think so. Well, we should check that out.
Let me double check here. John Byrne. A British born American writer.
So he's British Americanish.
Uh, a British born American. Blah, 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 blah. Where's this boy from? Oh, yeah, he's from the UK. He was born in 1950 in Walsall, Staffordshire, England. That's fantastic. So, we are having. Oh, okay. Byrne was born in Walsall, Staffordshire, raised in West Bromwich, where he lived with his parents, Frank and Nelsie, and his maternal grandmother while living there prior to his family immigrating to Canada when he was 8. He was first exposed to comics. There it is. Okay, so he might know a little more of the Canadian landscape than, say, me. In 1970, he enrolled in the Alberta College of Art and Design in Calgary. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
I'm familiar a little bit with that school, but yes.
Okay.
If you're going to learn anything about Canadian wilderness and stuff, Alberta is a pretty good province to start.
Okay. Let's see. He created the superhero parody Gay Guy for a college newspaper, poking fun at the Kappa's stereotype of homosexuality amongst art students. Gay Guy is notable for featuring a prototype of Alpha Flight character Snowbird. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so what better man to write for along with She-Hulk, so he's probably the best equipped to write about the Canadian landscape. All right, script doctor, this is where you're
Yeah,
going to come in. Department H or Department K? What the hell are these?
I'm
And
pretty sure these are fictional departments within the Canadian government in the Marvel universe. My understanding is that Canada, in the Marvel universe, especially specifically for X-Men, turned into more of a totalitarian type of state as opposed to what the U.S. represents.
yeah, because they write about Weapon X being liberated from Department K by the X-Men.
Uh,
um,
well, my understanding is that a Weapon X program, I mean, or at least the weapon program, was originally a Canadian endeavor.
Yeah, I'm not sure because the weapon program, Weapon 1 was Captain America.
Supposedly Captain America, yeah.
Yeah, unless there's
But I
this
thought that
weird
was like
thing of
retconned in the 80s. Because I thought just Captain America was just Captain America, and then in the 80s they changed that to like the weapon program. But I could be wrong because I'm a little rusty on my Marvel side of things for comics of that time.
yeah, because the weapon program is started in the 1940s. Captain America's Weapon 1. Uh, there was an African American superhero, Carl Lumbly, or I believe his name is. He was also part of that. And you
Well,
have
there's a group of seven other somewhat powered super soldiers, but not quite the same. I think there was like the Wizard. There was a guy that could scream. Um, Crap, there's a couple others out there, right?
yeah, my my extent of knowledge goes as far as like Arkady Rosevich is another part of the weapons program, but also he was part of the Soviet side of things back in the old USSR. The UK had one as well. I'm not sure what spawned from there. A lot of B characters that I probably wouldn't know off the top of my head, and I'd probably write an article about it and forget about it. Um, but yeah, these guys. So they're. How familiar are you with the Alpha Flight team?
I'm a little familiar with them. I know about Vindicator. I know Puck. I know Vindicator's. Well, I know of Vindicator's wife. I keep forgetting her name.
Heather.
Heather. Yeah. I know Wolverine kind of was part of that. I think before he got his adamantium, he was part of Alpha Flight, and then he left after the traumatic application process of that. If my history's accurate on Wolverine, again, that's also spotty because I
Yeah.
remember reading some comics that had some like different variations of it, and then the animated series was also like weird too because they were all over the place with that.
So okay, they had they had Alpha Flight, they had Beta Flight, and then they had Gamma Flight. Originally, Puck and Marina, the lovely green-skinned girl on the left-hand side, they were part of Beta Flight, and they were promoted to the Alpha Flight once Department K had disbanded the Alpha Flight government program officially. And amazingly, the prime minister over there, back in in the I guess was this late '80s, '90s when this comic was starting up, it was Trudeau.
Nope, Brian Mulrooney was the late '80s.
No, no, no. I'm talking about the fictional universe,
Oh, in the fictional universe. Oh yeah, probably he's probably still had Pierre Trudeau.
which is weird because we got a Trudeau right now, or you guys got a Trudeau right now.
In name only.
Oh God! But yeah, this is the so your thoughts, script, because I could they do
Um,
this? Could they create a Disney Plus series with enough interest in the Canadian team?
yeah, well, especially if John Byrne is kind of helming it. Yeah, I think he could do well. I haven't read any of his stuff recently, but I'm loving the stuff he did in the '80s with She-Hulk. I liked his Superman stuff, Man of Steel, way back in the day. He keeps his stories tight and concise, which is always a valuable thing to do, especially in like a miniseries format. Um, Yeah, the only thing that would be kind of a little weird and controversial would be from some Canadians who aren't entirely familiar with how Canada is represented in the Marvel universe. They might be like, no, that stuff wouldn't happen in Canada. And you're like, oh, that's the point. Like, they might not understand the fact that Canada is not and any recognizable in any way, sense, or form uh, to that because yeah, like we don't. I'm trying to remember here, like if I recall, like there were more story arcs where people trying to escape Canada to the United States in some X-Men stories than there were of anything else. Like a lot of people didn't. They're pretty much putting Canada as if it were like proto-communist. I think, like really big state powers, and um, like that's what Alpha Flight was kind of there for, is like kind of an arm of the state against interests that were considered dangerous to Canadian life, if I recall correctly.
Hmm. Because I'm because in the movie Logan, they kind of make a reference to Alpha Flight in that they were trying to get across the border to get the kids. Spoilers to anyone that hasn't seen Logan, but they were trying to get the kids, of which X-23 was part of that little group of New Mutants, across the border to Canada, and then they were in contact with a member of Alpha Flight to help protect them. Um, and unfortunately, like Moses, Logan doesn't get across to the promised land, but sees the kids across.
Yeah.
Uh, so I am not sure what they could do to tie it in with the real kind of government agencies that are up in Canada.
Well,
What is their
we don't have many. We've got CSIS, which is the Canadian like um, CIA, sort of speak. Not really. um, we have the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. We have a couple of other little departments like that. Again, we're only 10% of the population of the U.S., so our infrastructure on the federal side of things doesn't need to be as extensive comparatively to the U.S. And on top of that, most of our foreign policy is supposed to be with aid as opposed to like intervention or spread of anything. Just if you need help, we'll see what we can do. Um, and I also believe, like, well, we do have a Navy and Air Force and Army, but they're kind of umbrellaed under like just the major military thing. Like they're not as separate branches in the same way that the U.S. military is. Um, yeah, so I mean, it's definitely a good playing ground to sort of experiment with like what could be going on in Canada comparatively to the U.S. in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and or the broader Marvel universe.
See, I would love if there was a first question. All those governmental agencies, do they still kind of have the umbrella of the Queen?
Oh no, not, I mean, as far as I know, not. I mean, we have like a lieutenant general, or no, sorry, lieutenant governor, who is here on behalf of the monarchy, but it's we're still mostly autonomous. I mean, rarely does anything in any UK politics actually have any impact on us as a country anymore.
Yeah, because I
Um,
remember my grandfather. He fought for Her Majesty's whatever
well, he just
part.
fought on behalf of Her Majesty, I guess.
Yeah, during World War II, and he was Canadian.
Yep.
Um, and I don't know how that worked out, unless it was just like a um an umbrella figurehead kind of thing.
Well, not at that point. At that point in Canada, we were our flag was still under the Union Jack,
Hmm.
and we were still a part of. Well, we weren't considered a colony. We were considered the Union of Canada. So we were still somewhat independent, but we had basically strong relations with the United Kingdom at that time. So if the UK was to enter in any sort of international conflict, Canada would be asked by the UK to join, or in most cases, usually we'd already know what's going on by that point, and Canada would volunteer to assist the United Kingdom.
Oh, So back then it would be they were more of an extension. Now it would be a, hey, you want to help us out?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on also who is the leader of the of parliament, like which party is leading parliament, and if there is a consensus among our members of parliament to also join in such an endeavor. In most cases, it'd be expected, and the good news is that at least between the relations of Canada and the United Kingdom, we're pretty much on the same page when it comes to international relations and foreign policy. Like usually we are. I can't think of any instances where we aren't, but if anyone in the chat happens to know, I'd be happy. I'd be honored if you could remind me of some because it's been a while since I can recall any sort of conflicts or disagreements of that matter.
Yeah, I don't think there's any Canadians in the chat.
No, I mean we got
You're the only
Kalanuki
one.
is French, yeah.
Oh, and then Tom's here. I don't think he's Canadian.
No, he's in Wisconsin.
And then Deviant is French. That is freaking.
Stripes 2 Canada won't know what hit them. That would be a great one, actually. That'd be a great comedy.
But okay, let's get down to the fine details of it because we talk about the government of Canada then and some of their clandestine CSIS. I need to look them up.
CSIS. We just call it,
CSIS.
yeah, we call it CSIS, yeah.
CS.
It's like our secret intelligence service.
Then we got to talk about the Inuits.
Okay, cool. Yeah. They're a pretty awesome culture.
Pretty awesome culture. How much do you know about their beginnings, their kind of like impact on, what's going on in the mainstream of Canada? Like, are they of a significant amount where they're justified in being a major part of the Department K / Alpha Flight story?
You mean like in the reality of things?
Yeah.
Well, they're significant, but I'm not 100% sure on their population size and density. I know through education, like we think we have great respect for them. I don't know how much with regards to the government, or at least some political representatives have much respect for them and their cultures. There's definitely some issues regarding Inuit and Indigenous people of Canada, which is not ideal. I do know there's also controversial aspects in some areas of the Inuit culture. One of my teachers, one of my history teachers, before he was teaching in my school, he was teaching up there, and one of the biggest problems he had to deal with in some of the more impoverished communities was the kids kind of stealing gasoline, putting it in plastic bags, and huffing it. Like that was an issue for some of them.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
We had glue. God damn.
Yeah. Oh, he led several. He was part of like several community groups that led those kids to rehabilitation and then just try to get them back on track. Tried to help them out with their families so that because their families had their own stories and education to teach, and so it was basically trying to reconcile that. It was like one of the few issues, one of the few schools that actually respected the Indigenous culture out there. And it was like, okay, yeah, you're learning your stuff. This is what we in Canada are learning as well, and we're just going to share information as opposed to say you have to learn this and you have to forget that, because that was antithetical to at least my teacher's perspective. Is you shouldn't be rejecting knowledge based on like cultural differences. You should just kind of learn as much as you can and go from there. But yeah, they have their own culture, which is pretty cool. Some people like to associate the igloos as something that's only. I mean, they make some, but like they don't have to. It's, yeah, I mean, I can't remember how Alpha Flight addressed the Inuit, other than I know that Wolverine has had a few encounters with them and has helped them with their own stuff. And I know there's also been like jealousies and rivalries between like Wolverine being a foreigner, according to their perspective, like a white man
Mm.
coming in, and because he's a mutant and he has a healing factor, he can do some things that normal men can't, and so it appears impressive, and some people can get insecure about that. Um,
Yeah, because I'm reading up on. It doesn't seem like there are two Inuit indigenous people on the team. One is Snowbird, and her powers are just she can shapeshift into any animal, and she kind of embodies that animal's spirit as well, which I'm not going to even touch that realm. And then the other one is uh, he kind of looks like one of our Native American. Oh gosh, now the name is slipping. The name is slipping for me, but he's also a doctor. He does kind of shaman kind of powers, and I don't think those guys are mutants. I think they operate off of more like mystical kind of old school kind of stuff, and I don't know how that's gonna fly in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
well, I mean, they could try and give it a little bit of spiritual magic, I guess.
Like how, like Doctor Strange-ish,
Maybe,
or
yeah, like something that'd be an echo of what, like, familiar but not exactly the same,
yeah,
so to speak.
because one of them, like first issue, this dude he opens up a box and it's the skull of his grandfather speaking to him. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, I don't think that's gonna fly, especially in the Chinese audience where they don't really like the skeletons being on the screen. But yeah, when they delve into spirituality, demons, other realms of the dead, and stuff like that, I believe they have to walk on eggshells when they try to put this stuff overseas. And like, how important is that aspect of their culture where it has to be displayed on the Disney Plus? Like, they could introduce it into the show, no problem. But do they have to introduce it into the movie with international audiences, or can they edit that stuff out? And my question is, how important is it that they display that stuff for the understanding of the culture, and will there be a big backlash if they don't?
Well, I don't know a whole lot of the spirituality of the Inuit. I do know, like, for the longest time they didn't they were a society that had no monetary exchange, like no money type of thing. It was just all working within their communities and that type of stuff.
Mm.
Um, Geez, trying to remember if anything spirituality wise.
Like, were
Uh,
they huffing the gas to get in touch with the spirits of their fathers and so
no,
forth?
they were doing that because they were stupid kids. I mean, that's just it, man. Like, it's not even like something that's entirely local to or like specific to that culture. It's just you're looking for a drug or some sort of high, and that was what's available at the time. So they did that. Um, yeah, can't think of much that I can remember from spirituality. I mean, they had some cool stories. Um, they have really great songs, and their artistic stuff because they do like the stone men. So like you've probably seen pictures of uh, like just like a stone stick figure thing. They make those, which are pretty cool.
Huh.
Um, yeah, they have. There's oh crap. There's a type of culture. Oh, I know the name of this. It's like Thor, but it's not like Thor. It's ah,
I think I know what you're talking about.
the Thule culture. There's Thule
Okay.
culture. Okay. Yeah, I can remember the name. Good. I'm just telling my brain. Good luck remembering the rest of the stuff you learned about that. 'Cause
Shaman! Shaman!
it was,
Thank you, Deviant Porg. Shaman. But freaking. I even said the Shaman powers. Okay, well then freaking. I'm a dummy.
the shaman or shaman. Yeah.
Yeah. Michael Two Young Men. But then, Apache Chief out of DC. Okay. Okay, wait a minute. They had the. In the Suicide Squad, they had that chick that was doing voodoo.
Okay.
I hardly remember that movie, and I'm trying to forget it as much as possible. What was the explanation for her powers?
I think. Oh, that was the Cara Delevingne character.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was possessed by some sort of spirit.
Oh.
Her body was possessed by some sort of spirit. I remember the talks about that. One of the guys I work with made the little prop thing that she held.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah.
Now, with the Chinese audience, was there was there blowback to that movie? Because I know it didn't do well
I guess
over
so it
here.
was. Like I sadly my production involvement was contract based, so I didn't get to hear any of the after stuff. So once it once we wrapped our production side of things, communication was pretty much cut off for the rest of the film. So we didn't find out how much it made or how it performed or anything like that, other than what was reported in the trades. Um, yeah, like I don't even get residuals from that film because again I was a contractor, so like I wish I could get like some, but no, I don't. I don't get that.
All right, let's do a quick search here. Suicide Squad in China. China box office. Not released in China.
There you have it. I guess it did not qual. Oh, I guess because the possession of Cara Delevingne would be a spirit violation.
Oh, and right up front, they have a picture of the dude that does fire. Movie contains a massive amount of gun violence, bad language, and all sorts of bad guy antics that the China Film Company would deem unsuitable for Chinese audiences.
Yeah,
Oh, and then one of the main characters has kind of a skull pattern design for his tattoo all over his face. So yeah, yeah. So yeah, if Disney Plus doesn't release in China, I don't know if it is released in China. Yeah, they don't like ghosts in movies,
oh, I'm
and
pretty sure they have a variation of it in China where certain content is screened away.
yeah, they could easily edit out some of the stuff that they deem offensive. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on right now with the industry and double speak and just double thinking and revisiting old stuff. There's a lot of news going out on bounding into comics right now about Anthony Mackie and what Marvel Studios diversity looks like. And we're trying to cover it all, and it's all
Well,
spiraling into this weird thing right now.
the floodgates have kind of opened.
Yeah. Um, I think we'll talk about it on Wednesday. That'll be an interesting talk to have. But we'll we'll try to keep this all to the mutant side of things and the mutant rumors. That's right. Try to keep Mondays focused on. But any last thoughts on the Canadian side of things for the Alpha Flight, and how long do you think it'll last for a show like this, based off of how
Depending
many
on what
stories are there?
depending on like what angle John Byrne decides to take, like and what the conflict is going to be, I'm I don't know. I'd say maybe 2 or 3 seasons. But if it's just a one-off, I mean, obviously you're just going to get like 6 episodes or what have you. It depends on what the story is, really. Um, I would be surprised if Disney, or at least if Marvel, didn't want to try and mine as much as they can out of this for verse to prop up the streaming platform more, give it more of a foundation, and also to expand on merchandise. Because if they can make Alpha Flight like a household name, then toys and other merchandising and expansion of comics and maybe video games could be on the table.
Yeah, but will Americans want a Canadian team?
Well, I mean, Americans will like whatever is really cool and interesting. So
True.
I mean, all audiences will at that point. Americans love James Bond. That's not really a American thing. it,
Right.
it is Her Majesty's Secret Service stories, but it's still a popular franchise all over the world.
The Kingsman. That was
The
that was
first
going hot
Kingsman
for
was
a
great.
while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first one was great. Second one stumbled a little. Well, not really. But I'd say it stumbled a lot. Kind of like ended your story before it even began, so to speak. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
but
but I'm trying to think of any Canadian Deadpool
yep, you got
ish.
Deadpool. You,
Deadpool ish. The second Deadpool didn't really reflect the Canadian side of things, but the
neither
first
the
one,
first didn't even do that either. Like
yeah, he puts
the
in the references though.
yeah, some references. Yeah,
But yeah, well, I tried to keep this down to a half hour, so I tried to keep it to one subject. But
that's
okay,
a good
so
thing to do. Yeah.
all right, script. Plug your channel, plug your works coming up, and then we will take a bow and get some other stuff going.
Sure, yeah. So thank you very much for having me on today. I am the Script Doctor. I have a channel here on YouTube at youtube.com/Script Doctor, and you can find me on Twitter at Script Doctor PhD. I don't know when my next video is going to be coming out. I'm currently between 3 feature scripts that I have to write right now, so things are kind of all over the place. Um, so yeah, I've took a respite with some outlining of one of the stories, and thought I'd come on here and talk about some Alpha Flights. So that's pretty cool. So thank you.
Thanks for coming on, script. And then, can you talk about any of these projects, or are you on a NDA?
Well, I'm not associated. Oh yeah, though these are NDAs.
Oh, okay, never mind then. Okay, cool.
These are stuff that I'm shopping around. I don't want anyone trying to usurp me. Even though like they'll never write it as well as I am, I don't want to risk any usurpment.
All right, cool. Again, thanks for coming on, script, talking some shop on the Canadian side of things, and I will try to keep it to the American side of things as much as possible. Hopefully, we can. If they do something else on the other side of the fence, I'll try to find somebody to bring on. All right, guys, thanks for joining me, and everybody in the chat, hail. We will see you tomorrow for our DS9 Episode 2 review on Bounding into Comics, their YouTube page. And I will see you then. Thanks. Bye. Click.